Welcome to Innovation in the Burg, the podcast where science, innovation, and community come together right here in St. Petersburg, Florida. If you're curious about the amazing people and projects shaping our city's future, you're in the right place. I'm Alison Barlow, CEO of the St. Pete Innovation District, and I'm joined by Lynn Hubbard. She is part of Hubbard Marina and leads the Hubbard Ferry, a next-generation waterborne taxi transit company grounded in nearly a century of her family's trusted maritime operations on Tampa Bay. As a dedicated member of the Tampa Bay Ocean Team, Tara is a champion of collaborative, science-driven stewardship, bringing partners together to protect the water her family has navigated for 4 generations. Welcome, Tara.
Thank you, Allison.
I'm also joined by Dr. Mark Luther, a fan favorite of all of us, director of the Ocean Monitoring and Prediction Lab at the University of South Florida's College of Marine Science. His work focuses on improving maritime safety, protecting estuary water quality, and helping communities better understand changing ocean conditions. He is also a respected voice on the Tampa Bay Ocean Team and has been a featured speaker on our State of Science at the Innovation District and many other events. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
So let's start, first of all, Mark, with you, because you've been with the Ocean Team, I think, from the beginning, probably.
Yes, I have. I'm an old man.
Can you just share a little bit of what caused the Ocean Team to be created? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. I'm not
that old.
But, yeah, we realized the fact that if you add up all the people around Tampa Bay or around Bayboro Harbor even in downtown St. Pete that are involved in some aspect of marine science and technology, maritime operations, there are about 1,800 people, especially if you count the Coast Guard, NOAA National Marine Fisheries, U.S. Geological Survey, the College of Marine Science, Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, and then several smaller private sector entities that were involved in some form of marine science and technology. This is quite a cluster. And our former dean, Peter Betzer, I think was instrumental in all of that as well. He was very close to the city administration, and that's where we came up with this idea of the Ocean Team to try to help coordinate activities amongst all of those entities that were clustered around downtown St. Pete. And it's gradually expanded since then, so we're starting to try to be more Tampa Bay-wide than just Bayboro Harbor-centric.
I think that's important, too. And I think for you, Tara, to be involved, because your organization is all over Tampa Bay.
We hope to be. Yeah. Well, we're more based on the beaches.
Yeah.
And it is interesting, this context, too, because I'm much newer to the Ocean Team. So it's really neat to start getting involved and see what it's all about.
What got you excited about being involved?
I love the ocean. But I originally discovered the Ocean Team through the Innovation District. Okay. I had been getting more involved and got invited to, I think it was a master planning session.
Right.
And I show up, I'm like, what is this? It was the first time to the hub and learning about all the people based there and all the science and the innovation that's happening. Very intrigued and learned about the Ocean Team and thought, okay, this is something that I want to be a part of.
Well, and I love your involvement because it takes an organization that's been deeply involved in the ocean here in St. Pete and on the beaches for decades and brings that perspective to the table. Because I think sometimes, and you bring this up, which I think is so perfect, we get so stuck on the new stuff and how do we incorporate or help elevate the existing businesses. Yeah, I think that's going to be so important as the Ocean Team evolves. And part of it, too, is just the research has always been a cornerstone and the government participation, but the private industry, the small business, all of that being part of the thing. Let's talk for a minute. Because a lot of times people are like, what do you mean by ocean? Because it can mean so many different things. So I'm curious, we can play with this for a second. What do you think of when I say ocean in Tampa Bay, kind of?
It's funny you say that because I was always scolded growing up if I ever called it the ocean. It's not the ocean, it's the Gulf.
Oh, true. Very true.
So I see, these words ocean, sea, to be more holistic. For me, it's maritime based. It's something to do with the water. And now as I've grown and learned how it's all really connected,
right.
I like this Tampa Bay growth because then it even brings us up to the watershed. And, this water starting from the watershed, it's coming into the bay is going into the Gulf, and it's all this just water-based place. So that's kind of what I think of is water.
Water, just anything. How about you, Mark?
very similar. The Gulf is part of the global ocean, so it's dual use. You can call it ocean, you can call it Gulf, whatever suits your fancy at the time.
Thank you.
And Tampa Bay is a critical estuary, the largest estuary in Florida, second largest next to Chesapeake Bay. It's also the busiest port in Florida, accounts for a large portion, almost over half of all the petroleum product that gets imported to the state of Florida. And to me, any commercial or academic enterprise that touches the ocean in any way is part of the ocean economy.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that in mind, because even though there are various disparate branches of the ocean economy, they most all have some connection or intertwined issues that what affects one sector of that ocean economy also affects some other sectors of it as well.
No, that's a really good point. And you're taking us into a conversation about like that intertwined aspect. Like you talk about the research you might do or the work you do with the ports and then the link that has to transportation. You think about the ocean economy also includes recreational fishing, commercial fishing, just going out and enjoying the waterfront, boating, and even in some categories they'll include hospitality. Right. And any like beachfront opportunities that wouldn't be there if the ocean or the Gulf wasn't there. So it's this big nebulous, like amorphous creature a little bit. And I think for us, I know on the ocean team, as we've been trying to do an ocean strategy, kind of articulating those areas of focus in the Tampa Bay region, we keep multiplying because we keep thinking of new ones, right?
Well said.
Yeah.
And I love one of the topics in the ocean strategy being the human water connection.
Oh, yeah. Talk more about that for folks who don't know what that is.
Well, it's really just making the case for how much it is interconnected, as you mentioned. And it's something that's very exciting for me to see develop, and having these cross sectors between the academic institutions and the private, the coastlines, cities, the landowners. It's all, again, going up to the watershed, it's all interconnected. But tying in that health piece is interesting to me because actually I grew up on the water. This is my family business. But my conservation edge just developed in the last 5 or so years, learning about this concept called neuroconservation. Oh. It was put forward by author Wallace J. Nichols, who wrote the book Blue Mind, which if you've never read it, definitely recommend.
I'll have to check that out.
It's very interesting. Unfortunately, he just passed away last year, which was very sad. I was hoping to meet him one day because he really had an effect on me. And it's making this tie, connecting the reality of the human water connection and that, bringing that full loop. So the healthier our waters are, the healthier people will be. Healthy people create healthy waters. It's kind of this nice cycle that I think is important to uphold with all the commerce and research and everything that we're doing.
Yeah, I think it's tremendously important for as we explore the water, as we, we talk about forever chemicals getting in the water, microplastics getting in the water. But even just as we as humans use more of the ocean and I think it really becomes important to keep that front of mind. And we've got a great partner here with Johns Hopkins All Children's and their team who've been really interested in this topic of ocean and human health interconnection. So I think we'll be able to lean more into that in the coming year.
Right. In fact, we have that Forever Chemicals survey grant that Steve Murawski and company had. So, and healthcare professionals and researchers are involved in that as well.
Well, and I'm curious too, underpinning all of this is the idea of being smarter about our bay and collecting data. So Steve and his team collecting data, some of the companies we see at the hub who are out there collecting data. And talk a little bit, I don't know, Mark, share a little bit about your ports program and the data collection you do with that, because I don't know that everybody knows about that.
Yeah, that's something that has been around for a long time that's just now getting really a lot of recognition. In 1980, the Skyway Bridge collapse was a major disaster that was caused by anomalous waves and currents and tides and winds. Primarily, a big squall line overtook the vessel, knocked it out of the ship channel and into the bridge. And as part of the response to that, the local maritime transportation community worked with our congressional delegation and NOAA to get monies appropriated to build this system that measures winds and waves and currents and tides and fog, height of the Skyway Bridge, the new Skyway Bridge, and serves it all up in real time. It's called the NOAA Physical Oceanographic Real-Time System, or PORTS for short. And it provides measurements of all of those things that harbor pilots need to safely bring ships in and out of the port facilities of Tampa Bay, and serves it up in real time. It's updated every 6 minutes. We've got 15 sites and 36 individual sensors that have evolved over the last 35 years. It was actually implemented in 1990, 1991, and I've been running it pretty much ever since. It's sort of my core competency these days, is putting systems in the water that measure things that we need to know. So that's become the foundation for all sorts of other environmental studies. We piggybacked all sorts of water quality and how healthy is the bay, how often does water get circulated through the bay, or flushed, as we like to say. And we were the very first, but now there are 42 at major ports around the U.S.
I didn't realize it was a direct response to the ship that hit the Skyway.
It was. And again, maritime transportation community is a very tight-knit group here, and they were very friendly with our members of Congress. And so they got, in those days, they called them earmarks. Mm-hmm. Those are dirty words these days. But and interestingly, to me at least, it was because it was a one-time appropriation through Congress, there was no continuing operations and maintenance funding in NOAA's budget. Oh. So in 1992 or 3, when it went fully operational, NOAA basically just handed it over to this consortium of maritime transportation entities called the Greater Tampa Bay Marine Advisory Council. And so we had to figure out how to keep it going. And I had become involved with it through the helping with the construction of the whole system. And so we worked out the arrangement in 93 to house it at the USF College of Marine Science in my lab, and set up various cooperative agreements between that Marine Advisory Council and the university, and the Marine Advisory Council and NOAA Center for Ocean Operational Products and Services. So co-ops.
I was going to say, the name's
incredible.
The names
part
are
of the
amazing.
National Ocean Service, the branch of NOAA. Wow. And set up a sort of a consortium of people who contributed to the Port Authority, the harbor pilots, Port Manatee, and a couple of shipping interests all contribute money into the operating fund that then pays for operations and maintenance of the system itself, pays graduate students to assist with doing that. Yeah. And the data, having that real-time data stream for 35 years now, has fed multiple research projects, multiple PhD and master's thesis projects, and again, feeds into all sorts of other storm surge observations and ammonia spill tracking and things like that.
But I love that it's it has both the research function and then it has the industry. And I think, Tara, like looking at what private industry and research can do together, I think is tremendous. And I'm sure you guys have been involved in things over the years as well.
We have, and it's beautiful when the academic industry come to us and ask for our assistance, whether it's, practically speaking, transportation or, utilizing one of our peers. I know we've worked with Tampa Bay waterkeepers, for example, with some of their sensors that they read for red tide. Mm-hmm. So helping out is always great because, it's really bringing two sectors together and making stuff happen. So we love that.
We actually put one of our tide gauges on their pier out at John's Pass.
Okay.
So there you go. Yeah. Little did you know that's all coming together.
I think you did mention that to me, actually.
Yeah. Talk with your dad about it.
But I think that's important because it's shared data for multiple purposes. I think it's always challenging in the research realm to fund those things, as you were saying, in the ongoing basis. But this was grounded in a practical need that then had a research application. So I think that makes it particularly interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you both are thinking about looking forward, you've been at a lot of conferences lately, and I know you've also probably been traveling around. What do you see as some of the things that we need to think about, either best practices in coastal or ports or things that we're going to need to think about as an ocean team and as a community?
Yeah. Of course, coastal resilience gets a lot of talk these days. We know that the environment is changing. Sea levels are rising. Storms are becoming more intense and more frequent. And how can you harden coastal infrastructure to withstand those things better? I mean, we had the acid test last year with Hurricanes Helene and Milton, and we're still recovering in many ways. I'm personally still recovering. That's going to be probably the biggest challenge for the coming years is how do we deal with that?
Yeah. And Tara, what are your thoughts?
I echo that sentiment, absolutely. And then as far as the answer, I mean, we're all walking into the answer together. But something that I've seen that can be interesting from a regional perspective is really inviting more collaboration.
Okay.
I think we're at this precipice where, oftentimes the old paradigm is there's a few people researching, there's a few people with money, but really democratizing that and opening up the channels for private industry, for NGOs, citizen groups, bringing everyone to the table, I think is something that I feel really excited about, and a big reason that I was interested in the ocean team, and being able to find solutions from that place.
Right.
I think that's going to be a really exciting, really an innovative technique that we can channel. And I think our region's mobilized for that, which is exciting. Sometimes it means getting out of our comfort zone and not doing the things the way we've always done them.
Which, yes, very true. It can be tricky, but I think you're right. It's been really interesting when we started the conversation about the ocean strategy. So this idea that there were all these nooks and crannies around Tampa Bay. We knew a lot about what was happening around Bayboro Harbor and St. Pete, but we knew there was more. And as we had more and more conversation, we were like, okay, we have our arms around it. These are the focus areas. And then we would have a meeting. You guys are been in the room, and we'd be like, we forgot this focus area, and we forgot that. So I think we're up to 8. And it's everything from transformational research to supporting our infrastructure, to coastal resiliency, to dual use, taking some of the tech and either whether it's for our Coast Guard or our national security, but then even flexing uses across industries. Something in AI that we see happening, can it apply into another application around the water in a different way? We see some of that in the hub, and I'm always fascinated to see how people can put the dots together for themselves. It's pretty amazing.
Well, you mentioned conferences I've been involved in the last couple of weeks. The most recent one was the International Marine Minerals Society conference out at the beach. Turns out that Tampa Bay is home of 2 of the biggest players in that whole global deep sea minerals world. So that's going to take off. The recent executive order that kind of opened up the U.S. to the whole marine minerals world is spurring a huge flurry of activity, that most of which is going to be, or a large portion of which is going to be based right here in Tampa Bay.
And I think it's a tricky issue, right? I mean, anything where we talk about mining or collection and the conversation I know that I've had with many is one of the lessons learned from the Deepwater Horizon oil spill was we didn't have good starter baselines. So we didn't actually have a good sense of what was there before they began, so that when there was destruction, a full picture of that destruction from the purposes of penalties and remediation and fixing it. So I think these kinds of conversations that you guys are having right now are so important, so that we can start with that understanding and really get into that, and then get into techniques. And as I was talking to someone we both know that had attended the conference, he said, in his experience, deep water exploration over the last few decades, more than a few, we won't say how old we both are, He was saying this is the slowest he's ever seen an industry group move to a new tech because they're being so thoughtful and slow because they get it. Now we'll see. You know, there are other players around the world who are in this space. There's a lot of controversy and, you know, a lot of layers to this problem.
Right. And again, that was my motivation for getting involved in the first place. Is it's happening already and it's going to mushroom here in the very near future. Don't you want the people doing it to have the best scientific information, the best environmental background work done before they do anything so that they can do it as responsibly and as minimally impactful as possible?
Yeah. So before we close out, I want to give a moment to acknowledge you guys are getting into the ferry business. Well, you've been in the ferry business, really, but in a different way.
We're expanding.
Yes. Expanding. There you go.
We're very excited with the Tampa Bay ferry service opportunity on our horizon.
Yeah.
Which is partnering with PSTA, which is for us the really exciting part. My family, specifically my dad, Mark Hubbard, has been working on this for decades. And it's been really difficult as a private business with a big idea, you know, knocking on the door of each municipality, explaining why they should have a ferry stop and why they don't need a parking lot for each ferry stop. That's been work for decades. And the fact that PSTA is behind it and really helping, charter this new ground of waterborne transit is what we feel is going to take it to the next level.
That's amazing. And I think that the ferry opportunities in Tampa Bay, I think we've just haven't gotten used to it yet and haven't used it enough. And I know they're tweaking. You know, we had some experiences with the previous seasonal and it will have different layers to it, I'm sure. But I was just out, I was sharing before we started the podcast, I was out in San Francisco and seeing the different ferry routes and the thoughts behind their ferry routes. Some are more time sensitive. You know, they only work first thing in the morning, first thing or late in the day because they're commuter. There's some that are day long. I think those are the different layers to this question that are going to be kind of interesting to source out and figure out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we're very excited.
That's awesome. Anything else that you guys are thinking of that people listening should be thinking about when we talk about the ocean or Tampa Bay, the Gulf, and what we're doing collectively? I think it's been a pretty busy couple of months for all of us, and I'm hopeful for the strategy to come out, and I think that will kick off, to your point, some outreach with community members and things like that.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to suggest is, showing up, getting involved. I think a lot of people are hungry for impact and change, and, you'll be surprised. Even me, I heard about the ocean team, and, I saw the list of the consortium members, and I thought, I don't know if I belong there.
Right.
It was very academic. It was kind of a little intimidating. And just being able to show up and, realize everyone's voice matters and you can make change for the future is really important.
Yeah, I think it's critical. How about you, Mark?
Yeah, well, I was going to follow up on that there are lots of environmental organizations around Tampa Bay that if you're that interested, you can get involved with.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as helping with a beach cleanup or not fertilizing your lawn in the middle of the summer so that you don't contribute to the nitrogen pollution that sometimes plagues parts of Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And if I did have a moment to say one more thing,
please do.
Is share my love of Egmont Key.
Oh, yes.
And just highlighting that she needs help. She needs some love.
Yeah, and definitely, if you're not familiar with Egmont Key, check it out. It's a beautiful place, and maybe we need to do a future podcast just digging in on all the things that area, because I also know that's where the harbor pilots are based, right?
They used to be based there, and Hurricane Helene wiped out most of their structures that were out there.
Oh, I didn't realize
that. So
that.
they're temporarily working out of Tierra Verde Marina, and they're building a new station at the rest area on the north end of the Skyway Bridge.
Okay.
So that's going to be their new base.
Interesting. But yeah, that whole area is a really interesting area that I mean, I'm a local, been here, grew up here, but honestly don't know a lot about. So it's definitely worth exploring a little bit deeper. We'll have to do that.
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
I love it. I love it. Any other thoughts? Anything else? I appreciate both of you being with us today. I really do. I think this was a fun conversation to get everybody introduced a little bit to ocean and Tampa Bay.
Absolutely.
So for all of you, mark your calendars for State of Science and Innovation. We do it every January, and Mark made a little bit of allusion. I don't know if you know that Steve Morawski's team is going to be speaking about their project on the Tampa Bay surveillance at State of Science this year. So we also have the St. Pete Science Festival in February. So check out our website at stpeteinnovationdistrict.com. And thank you all for tuning in, being part of St. Pete's incredible story, and we'll see you next time.